My name is Melissa, and until last weekend, my husband thought my job was a vacation. We've been married for 8 years, and we have 2 beautiful, energetic children, Emma, who's 5, and Liam, who just turned 3. Before kids, I worked as a marketing coordinator at a company where the hours were long but the pay was good. James and I had always talked about one of us staying home when we had children, at least for the first few years. When I got pregnant with Emma, we crunched the numbers and realized that between childcare costs, commuting expenses, and the higher tax bracket, my salary would barely make a difference. So we decided I would be the one to stay home. The transition wasn't easy. I went from quarterly marketing presentations and business lunches to diaper changes and baby talk, but I threw myself into it completely. I read parenting books, joined mommy groups, and created schedules and activities to make sure Emma was hitting all her developmental milestones. When Liam came along 2 years later, I had to recalibrate everything while managing a toddler and a newborn. James seemed supportive at first. He'd come home from work, give the kids big hugs, and ask about our day. But over time, I started noticing little comments. Must be nice to take naps during the day. The house is still a mess. What exactly do you do all day? I wish I could just hang out in my pajamas until noon. I tried to laugh them off or explain my day, how Emma had a meltdown at the grocery store, or Liam had been teething and wouldn't let me put him down for hours, or how I'd spent the entire morning cleaning up a finger-painting disaster. But James would just smile in that patronizing way and say, "Still sounds easier than dealing with my boss." The comments stung, but I tried not to let them bother me. I knew being a stay-at-home mom was valuable work, even if it wasn't recognized the same way as bringing home a paycheck. The breaking point came last Tuesday. James had a stressful day at work. Some big client was unhappy with a project, and his team had to scramble to fix it. He came home late, after I'd already fed the kids, bathed them, and was in the middle of our bedtime routine. Emma was being particularly difficult, refusing to put on her pajamas and having a tantrum about which book we'd read. "Emma, please," I said, exhaustion evident in my voice. "It's already past your bedtime. Just put on your pajamas." "No, I want the purple ones," she screamed, throwing herself on the floor. James walked in just as Liam, startled by his sister's yelling, began to cry as well. "What's going on in here?" James asked, his face tight with frustration. "Just the usual bedtime battle," I sighed, picking up Liam to comfort him while trying to reason with Emma. "Could you help me get Emma into her pajamas? The purple ones are in the dryer, I think." James shook his head. "I've been working all day, Melissa. I'm exhausted." "Can't you handle this? It's literally your only job." I froze, still bouncing Liam on my hip. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," he said, loosening his tie. "I've been dealing with real problems all day while you've been here with the kids. And you can't even get them ready for bed properly?" I felt heat rise to my face. Real problems. "James, I've been on my feet since 5:30 this morning. I made breakfast, packed Emma's lunch for preschool, dropped her off, took Liam to his pediatrician appointment, went grocery shopping with a toddler who tried to grab everything off the shelves, came home to make lunch, put Liam down for a nap while I cleaned up the kitchen, picked Emma up from preschool, supervised a play date, made dinner, and now I'm trying to get 2 overtired kids to bed, all while managing the household, scheduling appointments, planning meals, and making sure everyone has clean clothes to wear." James rolled his eyes. "Come on, Melissa, you're being dramatic. You just sit around all day. At least you get to be with the kids. I'm stuck in an office, dealing with actual pressure." "Just sit around all day?" I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. "Yeah," he said, not picking up on my tone. "Being a stay-at-home mom isn't that hard. You get to watch TV, take naps when the kids do, go to the park. It's basically a vacation compared to what I deal with." I looked at him for a long moment, something shifting inside me. Years of overlooked effort, of diminished work, of being taken for granted, it all crystallized in that moment. "Okay," I said finally, my voice calm. "You're right. I guess I don't know how easy I have it." James seemed surprised by my acquiescence, but nodded, apparently satisfied. "Exactly. Look, I'm going to take a shower. Can you handle this mess, or do you need me to step in?" "No, I've got it," I said, a plan already forming in my mind. "You go relax. You've had a hard day." He disappeared down the hall, and I turned my attention back to the kids, getting them settled with a practiced efficiency born from years of doing this on my own. As I tucked Emma in, I asked her, "How would you feel about having a special weekend with Daddy? Just you, Liam, and Daddy?" Her eyes lit up. "Like a sleepover party?" "Exactly like a sleepover party," I said, kissing her forehead. "It'll be fun." The next day passed normally. James went to work, I took care of the kids, and by the time he came home I had dinner ready. I was polite but distant, which he didn't seem to notice. After the kids were in bed, I sat down next to him on the couch where he was watching a basketball game. "So, I've been thinking," I said casually. "My college roommate Jen invited me to visit her in Chicago this weekend. I think I'm going to go." James looked up from the TV, surprised. "This weekend? But we don't have any plans for the kids." "You'll be with them," I said simply. He laughed. "Come on, Melissa, I can't watch the kids all weekend. I've got that golf thing with clients on Saturday, remember?" "Cancel it," I suggested, "or take them with you. I've had to cancel plenty of things because of the kids." "That's different," he protested. "This is work." "Is it, or is it just golf?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Anyway, my flight's Friday afternoon. I'll be back Sunday evening." "Flight? You already booked it?" He looked genuinely confused now. "Melissa, we should have discussed this first." "Why, you said being a stay-at-home mom isn't that hard. You said I'd just sit around all day, so covering for me for 48 hours should be no problem for someone as capable as you." Understanding dawned on his face. "Is this about what I said yesterday? Come on, I was just stressed." "Maybe," I acknowledged. "But it made me realize we have very different perceptions of what I do all day. So consider this an educational opportunity. You get to experience my vacation firsthand." "Melissa, this is ridiculous. You can't just leave." "Actually, I can," I said, standing up. "And I am. I'll make sure everything's prepared before I go. The fridge will be stocked, the laundry will be done, and I'll leave you detailed instructions for the kids' routines." "It should be easy, right? Since I just sit around all day?" James stared at me, clearly trying to determine if I was serious. "And what if I say no?" "Then you're admitting you don't think you can handle what I do every day," I replied evenly. "Which means you owe me a massive apology, and you never get to make another comment about how easy my job is." He frowned, his pride clearly wounded. "Fine, go. We'll be perfectly fine. Maybe I'll even get the house cleaner than you keep it." I smiled. "Great, I'm so glad we're on the same page." The next 2 days, I prepared meticulously. I did all the laundry, cleaned the house top to bottom, and stocked the refrigerator with easy-to-prepare meals. I wrote out detailed schedules for the kids, when they eat, when they nap, what activities they enjoy, what tricks help when they're being difficult. I even prepared their outfits for each day, labeled and organized in their drawers. On Friday morning, I packed a small bag while James was at work. I normally would have felt guilty about leaving the kids, but this wasn't a vacation for me. It was a necessary lesson. I arranged for my mother to pick me up and take me to the airport, and I called Jen to let her know I was actually coming to visit. When it was time to leave, I gave Emma and Liam extra long hugs. "Be good for Daddy," I told them. "I'll be back before you know it." "Bring presents," Emma demanded, making me laugh. "We'll see," I promised, giving her one last kiss. I had already texted James. "Leaving now, everything you need is on the kitchen counter. Call if there's an emergency, but try to handle it yourself first. Good luck." He replied with a thumbs-up emoji, "And we'll be fine. Enjoy your educational weekend." The confidence in his message just reinforced that this was necessary. He truly had no idea what he was in for. The first few hours at Jen's place were strange. It was the first time in years I had been away from my children overnight, and the silence was both wonderful and unsettling. Jen and I went out for dinner, and I kept reflexively checking my phone for texts or missed calls from James, but there was nothing. "He's probably trying to prove a point," Jen said when I mentioned the silence. "Give it time." She was right. At 8:45 p.m., just after we'd returned from dinner, my phone finally buzzed. "Where do we keep the children's Tylenol?" Emma says her throat hurts. I wrote back, "Medicine cabinet in our bathroom, top shelf." 5 minutes later, "Found it. What's the dosage?" I resisted the urge to call him, This was part of the lesson, figuring things out that I handled automatically every day. It's on the bottle, based on her weight. Another pause, then, right, got it. The next message came at 11:30 p.m., waking me from a deep sleep. Liam won't stop crying, tried everything, what do I do? I sat up in bed, motherly concern warring with my determination to let James handle this. What have you tried? I texted back. Bottle, diaper change, rocking him, he just keeps crying. I knew exactly what the problem was. Liam needed his special stuffed elephant to sleep, the one he'd dropped behind his bed earlier that week. I'd found it while vacuuming and put it in the closet for safekeeping, meaning to return it to his bed. But I didn't tell James that. Check if he's too hot or too cold, try singing to him, walk around the house with him. 20 minutes passed before he replied. He finally fell asleep. No thanks to your advice. I smiled in the dark. James had probably spent that entire time desperately trying different things until Liam exhausted himself into sleep, a battle I'd fought many nights while James slept soundly. The next morning I woke up to a series of texts sent at various points during the night. 2:15 a.m. Liam woke up again. Found his elephant in the closet. Why didn't you tell me that's what he wanted? 3:40 a.m. Emma had a nightmare. Now she's in our bed. How do I get her back to hers? 6:10 a.m. They're both up. How do they have so much energy? The sun isn't even up yet. I felt a twinge of sympathy but reminded myself that this was just one night of the years I'd been doing this. I texted back, "Good morning. Sounds like you had a typical night. Emma likes pancakes for breakfast on Saturdays. The mix is in the pantry." He didn't respond until almost 9 a.m. Made cereal instead, less mess. I spent the day with Jen, enjoying adult conversation and the luxury of finishing a cup of coffee while it was still hot. We went shopping, had lunch at a cute cafe, and even got manicures, simple pleasures I rarely had time for anymore. But I still checked my phone regularly, expecting a flurry of panicked messages. Surprisingly, the updates from James were minimal. 10:30 a.m. Took kids to park. Emma refused to wear the clothes you laid out. Is this worth fighting over? 1:45 p.m. How do you get peanut butter out of hair? 4:20 p.m. Does Liam always nap this late? How will he sleep tonight? I answered each question simply, offering guidance without solving the problem for him. Part of me wanted to check in more to make sure the kids were okay, but I reminded myself that James was a capable adult and their father. He could handle this. By Saturday evening, though, the tone of his messages had shifted. 6:15 p.m. Please tell me you have some trick for getting them to eat vegetables. 7:30 p.m. Bath time is a nightmare. Everything is soaking wet, including me. 8:45 p.m. Emma won't go to sleep because I didn't read the voices in her book right. And finally at 9:30 p.m., how do you do this every day? That last message gave me a flutter of satisfaction. It was the first acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, my job wasn't as easy as he'd thought. I replied, "You figure it out, because they need you to." Sunday morning was quiet, too quiet. I wondered if James was overwhelmed or if he'd finally found his rhythm. Around 11 a.m. I texted, "Everything okay?" His response came an hour later. "Surviving? Barely. What time are you home?" "Flight lands at 6, should be home by 7, I wrote back. "Thank God," he replied immediately. The rest of the day passed without updates. I wondered what state I would find the house in, what state I would find James in. Part of me felt guilty for leaving him alone with the kids for so long, but another part knew this was necessary for our marriage, for his understanding of what I did every day. My flight was on time, and my mother picked me up from the airport as planned. As we pulled into my driveway, I braced myself for what I might find inside. What I saw when I opened the front door stopped me in my tracks. The living room looked like a tornado had hit it. Toys covered every surface, cushions were off the couch, and there appeared to be crayon on one wall. The kitchen wasn't any better. Dishes piled in the sink, food stuck to the counter, a spilled juice box soaking into a pile of mail. And in the middle of it all sat James, on the floor with Emma and Liam, building a block tower in his wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. When the kids saw me, they squealed with delight and ran to me, nearly knocking me over with their hugs. James looked up, his expression a mix of relief and exhaustion. "You're back," he said simply. "I'm back," I confirmed, hugging the kids tightly. "Did you have fun with Daddy?" "Daddy made pancakes, but they were yucky," Emma informed me, "and he let us stay up late and watch 2 movies. "Dada," Liam said, pointing at James. "Meh," I laughed. "I can see that." After getting the kids settled with a snack, I found James in our bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed with his head in his hands. "Rough weekend?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe. He looked up at me, and the exhaustion in his eyes was answer enough. "Melissa, I had no idea." I sat down next to him. "No idea about what, specifically?" "Any of it. All of it," he gestured vaguely. "They never stop. The questions, the needs, the messes. As soon as I fixed one thing, something else would break or spill or hurt or need attention. I haven't slept more than 3 hours at a stretch since you left. I haven't eaten a meal sitting down. I haven't even showered." I nodded. "Welcome to my vacation." He winced. I was an ass. "Yes, you were," I agreed. "I'm sorry," he said, taking my hand. "Truly. I had no idea what your days are like, no idea how much work goes into keeping everything running, and you do it all without complaint, while I've been making snide comments about how easy you have it." I squeezed his hand. "It's not that I wanted you to suffer, James. I just needed you to understand that being a stay-at-home mom isn't sitting around watching TV or taking naps. It's a job. A hard one, with no breaks, no sick days, and, apparently, very little appreciation." "I get it now," he said earnestly, "and I'm so sorry. You deserve better. You deserve recognition for everything you do for this family." I looked into his tired eyes and saw genuine remorse there. "Apology accepted. But I want you to remember this feeling the next time you're tempted to think my job is easier than yours. Trust me, I won't forget," he promised. "In fact, I've been thinking—" "Dangerous?" I teased. He smiled for the first time since I'd arrived home. "Maybe we should both get some help. We could hire a cleaning service once a week, or maybe get a babysitter one afternoon so you can have some time to yourself. And I should be more involved when I am home, not just playing with the kids, but actually helping with the hard parts too." I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. He really did understand. "That would be amazing." And he added, "I'm taking a day off next Friday. You're going to the spa, my treat, a full day of whatever treatments you want, no interruptions." I laughed. "Are you sure you can handle another day with the kids?" "Absolutely not," he admitted. "But I'm going to learn, and maybe you can write down some of your tricks. You make it look so easy, but I now know that's because you're incredibly good at what you do." I leaned against him, feeling closer to my husband than I had in months. "It's a deal. But first, let's get this house cleaned up before child services shows up." He groaned but stood up, pulling me with him. "Lead the way, boss." As we tackled the disaster together, Emma and Liam jumping in to help in their chaotic way, I realized that sometimes the best way to be appreciated is to be absent. Sometimes people don't know what you do until you stop doing it. James never called me lazy again. In fact, he started referring to me as the CEO of our household when introducing me to his colleagues. He kept his promise about being more involved, about recognizing the work I did, and about making sure I got regular breaks. Our marriage grew stronger because of that weekend. Not because I'd taught him a lesson or made him suffer, but because I'd helped him understand. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to tell someone what your reality is like. It's to let them live it, even if just for a little while. And if you're wondering, yes, I did get my day at the spa. And when I came home, the house was still standing, the kids were happy, and James had only texted me 4 times with questions, which, we both agreed, was pretty impressive progress.